For Energy in Depth, which represents natural gas producers. He is live in D.C. Thanks for joining us. And Josh Fox, a filmmaker behind GasLand. You are live, sir, in Binghamton. Tell us why you made this documentary, Josh, and what you found. Are we...
Which provides water. Can you
Josh,
hear me?
Josh, hold on one second. We lost the first part of that. I'm going to ask you just again. Your mic was potted down.
All right.
But tell us why you made this film and what did you find?
Well, I made GasLand because I was asked to lease my land in the upper Delaware River Basin of New York, Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania. That's a part of an interconnected watershed system which provides water to about 16 million people. I looked into the process and I found across the country rampant water contamination, air pollution, health problems on behalf of citizens because toxic chemicals are injected under the ground and vented off into the air during the process. The process I found out also was exempted from the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Superfund law, that it was completely deregulated under the Bush administration, and that this is a scandal. And I mean, GasLand is opening this month in theaters across the nation. It's in New York this week. I've seen a movement of people like I've never seen in my life across this country against fracking because there are so many people who are outraged, who feel like they've been overrun by this industry. And I responded to that crisis and put it in the film. It opened at Sundance. It won at Sundance. It's been this unbelievable thing that's changed my life simply because I was sent a gas lease in the mail and decided to investigate. I went all across the country, and those were the things that I found. I'm testifying here at the EPA today.
I want to bring you in, Chris, as we're looking at some of the video again of this a fireball coming out of this man's faucet. But Chris, obviously you have a different view on this. Let me just ask you straight out. Would you drink water coming from these people's homes?
I don't know that I would, frankly. I think the issue there is when you we're speaking directly about the gentleman that was in your last video. He was featured in the film GasLand, and Colorado regulators actually took a look at his water, did the survey on it, and came back and found that gas had nothing to do with hydraulic fracturing, with... I'm sorry, I can't... I'm getting feedback here. I can't...
Oh, you're getting feedback, guys. Can we fix that?
I can't.
He was saying, if I could just repeat him, he was saying that that scene from GasLand, there was no reason to believe, I believe him, I'm saying this correctly, Chris, that the gas coming out of that man's faucet had anything to do with the gas exploration that was going on in his area. Is that what you're saying?
That's right, yeah, and it was actually confirmed as such by the Colorado Oil and Gas Regulatory Commission. They went in there, took a look at the water well, and determined that was biogenic in nature, naturally occurring, had nothing to do with oil and gas development. And you're going to see that's the same situation you're seeing a lot in Pennsylvania and New York. You know, a producer out there recently, a major producer actually did a baseline study of water quality in the area. Came back and actually found that of the private water wells that they were testing, a third had methane in them already. It had nothing to do with drilling at all. So,
well, Chris, let me ask you, because I just got back from Debunks, Pennsylvania, where the oil company there has now been forced to truck in water so these people could drink it. They say the wells were clear. One man had been drinking well water at his home for 50 years. Then they started doing this hydraulic fracturing, and suddenly he's got bubbling gas coming out of his faucets. A coincidence?
Well, listen, the PA, Department of Environmental Protection, did the work up there, went up there, tried to figure out what was happening in Debunks, came back and found the hydraulic fracturing had nothing to do with that incident. And you could find that study and that report on its website. But, you know, I'm actually from that area. I was raised in Northeast Pennsylvania, and shallow methane has been an issue there for an awful long time, long before oil and gas production was even considered. The fossil fuel in that area with coal, with natural gas, with deposits of oil as well has been very much part of that geological geological situation there for millennia. And so, I think, there has to be something needs to be done to handle that situation. But also, I think when you apply science to it, you sort of come to a different conclusion than what Josh Fox
Josh, do you buy that argument that this is all just coincidental, that the gas coming out of these people's faucets and the fact that there's hydraulic fracturing going on in the area is just, hey, bad luck?
No, not at all. I mean, what's surprising to me, well, the Energy in Depth is a smear campaign. The natural gas industry obviously doesn't want people to see GasLand. But the natural gas in the water, which has been confirmed as thermogenic, is only coming from those deep shale layers in Colorado and Pennsylvania, in contradiction to what Chris Tucker is saying, is very clear. But that's not the only problem. The problem also is that the chemicals used in hydraulic fracturing, which are not naturally occurring, there's no way that they could exist in nature, are turning up in people's water wells. Those are drilling fluids, drilling muds, and yes, water replacement is happening all over America. And when the gas company settles with a family who's been injured, they often include in that settlement a non-disclosure agreement, which means all across America, people are trading their silence for water and for compensation. That is something that is utterly despicable. Energy in Depth is not only attacking the film, they're also attacking ordinary Americans who are coming forward and saying our water wells have been poisoned, our children are getting sick.
Chris,
they just came out and attacked
Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much. Chris, let me ask you a question. You know, the EPA did a study in 2004 and found this to be an okay source of getting natural gas out of the ground. But based on all the concerns now and the concerns of people who are actually having to live with this, should the industry just hold off until the EPA does a more extensive study, takes a look at this thing and find out if indeed this is safe, so we're not going back years from now and trying to fix what essentially is being broken at the moment?
I think the only way that makes sense is if you accept the premise that Josh and others have put forward, and that's that hydraulic fracturing is new and it's unregulated and it's sort of exotic, and none of that's actually true. Hydraulic fracturing is a technology, has nothing, by the way, has nothing to do with drilling. It's post-drilling. Over the 40-year life of a well, we're talking about something that takes place between 72 hours and a week. And essentially it's something that's been around for 60 years, been done 1.1 million times. And you know, EPA has looked at this thing about a half dozen times over the past several decades, including in 2004. Including the late 90s, including as recently as January of 2010, when EPA folks came to the Senate and were asked a direct question. Are you familiar with a single instance in which hydraulic fracturing has been proven to contaminate groundwater? And right on down the road, they said no, no, no. And so, you know, EPA has taken a look at this thing. We actually accept, you know, we support the idea of a new study. We think that, you know, if it's science-based and peer-reviewed, it's going to return a lot of the same conclusions that we've seen over the past several decades, and that it's a safe process.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot for joining us. You have a tough uphill battle. I'm telling you, when you see people lighting their faucets on fire, and I myself have witnessed it, it is remarkable to think that there is no, there's no link between the two, but you're saying there's not. Let's see what the EPA says. Josh, thank you so much for joining us with your documentary, GasLand, that has certainly got people talking about this all over the country, and we're going to stay with this and see what the EPA hears this afternoon as they listen to the people's concerns there in Binghamton, New York. Thanks, both of you, for joining us. Well, banks going under, massive